Throughout the years, the subject of UFOs and its place in our consciousness has been one of controversy. Those who have stepped into the understanding of a universe shared by other life forms, other than humans, is both challenging and frightening, to a world that once was told that the Earth was flat. Over the century and even before, from biblical to present, the subject has had its place in the minds of those who have welcomed and accepted a deeper understanding to the mysteries of life. In the news recently, and in the coming weeks, we are faced with at least confronting the subject of UFO disclosure. Today, Michael Dellarocca and I have the chance to share our thoughts on the subject. This interesting topic that's in the news over the last couple of years, or maybe more recently, it's been in the news in terms of being more relevant, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's an important time to discuss this because whether we like it or not, it's happening. So I think there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of questions, and there's so many different people that have different takes on aliens, and there's just going to be so many questions. So might as well be us, leading the way and sharing what we know about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked over the years of all the different types of revelations and the need for exposing the hidden truths, right? Or things that don't appear in the news right away, but wind up creeping in eventually over time. So, I mean, you did an interesting video this morning, which I watched, which was very inspiring, and hopefully, the information that comes out is at least inches people closer to more than what they've been willing to accept or to understand.
Yeah, and there's just so much information out there. Even for us, it becomes a little overwhelming. But it's more or less in the personality. If you're like driven towards it, kind of like how we are, and some people, they push back a little bit, and that's okay because everyone is different. But to the extent of so many different, whether it will be species or how we want to go about it. What we know already and what the collective is learning. I think one of the terms that a lot of people are familiar with is the Galactic Federation. And that's, something that you're familiar with too. And, there's also concern because, some people, and you should always keep an open mind, and who do you trust and who don't you trust? And one of the things that I feel and share is that you have to feel the vibration and not to trust everyone right off the bat. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. When you say trust, what do you mean by trust? Explain that to me.
Well, say this is being presented to the people, right? And say, oh, these aliens, this species, or this who you should feel comfortable with, right? Sometimes we don't want to trust things blindly, right? And there's a lot of information out there. We see how everything has been so far, the layers of deception and trusting certain things. But like, what is your what's your like thoughts on like how it's gonna play out?
Before I would say my thoughts, I would basically say that I think anything that people have not put a flashlight on before, when they shine it on that object, it's going to say, wow, what is that? Right. But if people like yourself and I and other people who have been interested in the subject and who have not been afraid to like investigate or look beneath the surface, I think the light has been on in the room the whole time for this type of information. So as you say, for me, how do I relate it to like what's going to happen? I think the people who will believe it, and the people who won't believe it will slowly, eventually, over time, inch closer to believing in things that that they resist. And like the saying goes, I think we mentioned the last time, the more somebody resists, the more something persists. So I think it's going to hang around for a period of time. And the main point for me with this particular subject is that I feel it's almost the government has almost a hand in suppressing information to keep the masses, as you mentioned earlier today, under control and in the blind. And I think it's our responsibility to find out and investigate so that we enlighten ourselves, in essence, right?
Yeah. Well, they say the truth is the highest level of vibrational consciousness when you know the truth. So that's why there's major attempts to hide the truth. When we think of how vast the universe is, and we're kind of held in that box of limiting beliefs. It's keeping the quality of your life actually small. To feel like you're insignificant when you're actually infinite, and the universe is infinite. But like the way, like, no one knows how it's going to play out. I think you shared with me, and you could kind of see like how everything's on a delay. They say June 1st, but you feel like it'll probably be delayed further.
Well, I think it's going to
Maybe a little.
be, it's a distraction from other major events that will play out. So in other words, it'll like seep through the cracks as a major thing for the people like yourself and I and the audience that's interested in this. But there may be something more profound that will be a greater distraction as to keep that particular subject somewhat on the low. So in other words, they said it, but it won't be as significant. Maybe some type of other distraction. I wanted to say this, that I feel um, with regards to UFOs or subjects that we've experienced over the last year, for example, with the whole situation, that I feel the government plays the people almost like as a narcissist energy of playing one group against the other, just like a parent would play two children against one another, making one the gifted child and one the black sheep of the family. And so I think the information will be presented, or the information that has been suppressed has been presented in this manner, as to make information seem that one group of people are worthy of something and other group of people are not worthy of receiving something. But it's a way of keeping us separate, and also a way of keeping us in the dark and shaming people who want to learn about something more universal and expanding their consciousness, as you always refer in terms of your channel, which is focused on that.
Yeah, the shame, and that's, if you look at the Hawkins scale of vibrational consciousness. So shame is at the bottom. So think about every time that you're shamed for your thoughts, right? So and that's how we're actually able to navigate this time period right now, because no one knows, right? I mean, you're energy intuitive, and it's even confusing for all people. But the best way of kind of navigating this time period is to go through vibration, right? So
Right.
if you're seeing fear, if you're seeing shame, like almost flip it over. They're hiding the truth with fear and shame, right? And that's what you could also say with how to feel. Like if you're being revealed, right? Extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to call them. Feeling the vibration. It's not maybe the way that they look. We see this with all people, right? They might look a certain way, but behind the scenes, they're not doing the best thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
almost feeling the vibration, feeling the energy behind it. You've seen. I've had my run-ins with UFOs, and they show up on the channel.
Absolutely.
But you've had some run-ins yourself, some
I,
experiences.
I would say that for the most part, first of all, I've been in a company of people who have spoken to me, like yourself on your particular videos, but more so the fact that I've met older people who, when I had spoken to them just in general over specific subjects, they told me they had to reveal something to me, which they said they never told anybody. So it was always based upon a UFO. There was an 80-year-old man I remember sitting in New Jersey at a swimming pool. He told me about seeing a Hindenburg float overhead during World War, before the war broke out. And he said, I have to tell you something. I never told anybody. He goes, when I was working up in Monticello as a busboy in the 40s or the 50s, he said, I came back from work and something landed right in the middle of the street when I was coming back, and then it took off. I go, what was it? He goes, I have no idea, but it looked like a UFO. I never told anybody. And then from one situation to the next, I came into different types of people. I've had interactions with people who've basically said that they've had communications and so on. Um, and most of the time, people's reaction when they had these experiences were like, I remember, but it was a little cloudy to me, but I do have a particular memory of it. Interestingly enough, I've interviewed a few people who have had direct experiences with communication, a woman by the name of Dr. Angela Thompson Smith, who
Mhm.
has written a book called Voices from the Cosmos, who she's communicated with various alien races and has actually spoken about their particular their messages and their mission. And then I just recently did an interview with Dr. Irina Scott, who has worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency and did satellite photography and used to see different things on the camera after she photographed them. And her peers told her not to say anything or to just try to cover it up. And this was in the 50s or 60s. So her husband worked at the Area 51 in Roswell and saw different types of spaceships and stuff covered up with different types of material, and didn't get into it in detail. But yeah, from my experience, I've had that, and through my Akashic readings, I've made little connections in terms of trying to see and hear things that have been validated by other people as well who were in this field. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And when you think about how the extents to always hide it, always cover it up, it's number one, incredibly, important that the people know about this, right? Because it kind of changes every aspect of life.
right.
And then we also have to think, why are they disclosing it now? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
It's been hidden for so years, and now they're like, here you go. So
Well,
there's got to be a reason why.
I think it's inching. I think it's inching closer to like as you've discussed a veil opening, right, and our levels of consciousness rising, and the not the elitists but the people in control sort of losing their power. And I guess maybe because the power is shifting, and the masses are on a journey of discovery and reaching a higher level of consciousness, that sooner or later this is going to come out in the open, so to speak. It's been out in the open, but what signifies out in the open, right? If you know
Yeah.
something, you know something. But does the news have to validate what we know?
Right, right. And I think that's what we're all programmed for. If you have to see it on the news for it to be real.
Yeah.
We've all been studying this stuff
Right,
for
right,
so
right.
long, and that's how good people are led, because they're good. Sometimes you can't blame a person, right? If because that's just, it's passed down, the subconscious programs, right?
Right, right,
So
right.
it's
Definitely.
passed down each generation. So you watch the mind control of the TV, but you were placed there since a child, so you haven't seen anything outside this box,
Well,
right? And
yeah.
that's why I shared when I was you know you stumble across things on YouTube, and the secrets of vibration and frequency of Nikola Tesla, and certain things, just you get to decide, right? That's why YouTube is important. You get to decide, what do I want to watch? What do I want to consume? And our core vibrational frequency is everything that we consume. So it's not just, right. You're very into non-GMOs, right? The
Yes,
health,
yes.
the food, the water, but it's also what we watch and what we listen to. It makes our core vibrational frequency. So what we're watching, right? So it's actually giving us fake news or fake subconscious programs. It's lowering our vibration.
Well,
So that now,
yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah.
keeping the masses in a certain place, disabling people by monotony and a message of repetitive programming, right, as you just said, is a way of keeping people down. There was a saying, I think, during the war, during either, I don't know if it was World War I or World War II, they said, don't let people see Paris, they'll never want to go back to the farm. So once the cat is out of the bag, so to speak, it's hard to get it back in, and they really want to make sure that this is really something that they have some control over. And getting back to what you said, it's conditioning, but it's also exactly what happens in families when people are afraid to break from the chains of what they know, as in the fear of abandonment. People's believe that if they believe in something different than what the masses and traditionally thinking believes in, then they'll be shunned or dismissed from the family core. So my feeling is that, I mean, I know for myself personally, I could speak for me, that I think it's important to go on a journey of self-discovery and not really think what other people care or think about one. I was on Facebook. I had a few friends who I had some intellectual conversations about, over general stuff. And then when I put
Yeah.
up UFO postings, They told me privately, I can't talk to you anymore because I can't believe you. You believe in UFOs and all these crazy conspiracy theories.
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
for me, I laughed it off. It was like, it was actually invigorating for me to like almost like say to a family member who would say to you, how could you believe in that? You know, you were raised this way.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You
almost
know,
like a religious thing. How
yeah,
could you marry out of the religion?
you just gave an important part. And I think a lot of people don't maybe realize the importance of being the warrior. I shared the path of the warrior. And when we think of World War III as the spiritual war, the consciousness war, you know, everything is held down through fear and shame, and those are the satanic vibrations. So when you're going out into the battlefield of the world, right? You came across that. You know, it's not like an actual battle with bombs and stuff, but you have to be a warrior because, like, you know, the way we're raised, like, oh, you're afraid of saying, speaking your mind, and you're like this, you know, but you got to be like that. You got to come out and speak your truth, right? Feet planted firmly and speak the truth. That's why I say things, and you know, you're saying things, and you know, we don't have to worry about the fear and the shame, and you know, if someone's gonna, you know, I talked about like fake people being exposed now, right? I did a video on that recently, and you know, if they're gonna have you know, put these standards, oh, you have to think the way that I think and believe what I believe, and otherwise I can't be your friend no more. They're not really your friend. That's not a real friend, you know. Like unconditional love, like, you know, how we talk all the time, and you know, it's just
Absolutely.
like you just like you sit back and you learn from each other, and you know, it's
Well,
it's
it's a,
important,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
to keep
It's,
your feet planted firmly. Yeah.
yeah, well, I think it has to do with power and people in need of power looking to dominate other people. Information is a form of power, but most of the information that's being sent to us is filtered and diluted so that you don't get too much of it. And people want to put their hands and trust and faith in things that don't shake their core and don't make them break free from the chains that they've been chained to all their lives. So, you know, that applies to everything. That applies to medicine and what's going on. And people take their own health into their own hands, then they are responsible and they have to feel the ups and downs of, you know, taking care of your own self. I mean, of course, we need doctors, we need medicine, but the whole concept of relying upon or navigating our own self through our lives and finding the right people, right, who are supportive of our journey and supportive of what we believe in, is important. And especially in these times, as we're speaking specifically about the disclosure and UFOs, and hearing all the intellectual people speak about and expose it, but up against a lot of barriers and walls and shaming. So I think that it's going to be an enlightening time just to hear it. But the question is who's going to reveal the information? How will, as we said before, how will it be revealed? And I think the main point is for us to keep in mind that we ourselves have to be satisfied within ourselves of what information stimulates us and doesn't let us down.
Yeah. And you know, there's always the suppression and the fear of death. I actually saw a documentary on this recently. The fear of death is how they mind control people, right? So once you're in the that's the top one, fear of death.
Right.
So then when you see all these like alien invasions, right, you think that they're negative, right? But they're when a being is so much more far advanced, like you become peaceful, right? Think of our evolutionary journey when we're kids, right? And you're fighting and you do all these things when you're younger, and then when you mature and become an adult, you're more peaceful. So when you think of evolution of these beings that are, you know, much more advanced than us, they're not coming to you know, uh, destroy and everything else. You know, some people talk about you know, Project Bluebeam and creating a fake alien invasion. I mean, do you with your do you feel that's part of this, or no?
I think anything's possible. I think, in
Yeah.
fact, I heard an interview today
Mm.
where who was it that spoke about that the government Well, actually, I watched an interview with a man by the name of Jean-Petit. I forgot his last name, a French a physicist. And
Mhm.
he spoke about in the 70s where he was given information via a telephone conversation on UFO technology, on how you can go the speed of sound with an aircraft and almost mimic UFO technology like a magnetic
Mhm.
magnetic field. And he felt that it came from because he visited these people in a hotel and they told him if you really want to figure out what we do, you try this technology. And he put it together and he found out that it was gravitational, well, like a UFO, technology. With
Yeah.
that said, he went to the French government, the Ministry of Defense, who told him, "We know about this, but we can't let the cat out of the bag." With that
Yeah.
said, one of his colleagues from Japan had called him
Mhm.
up a week later and said, "I received information from some anonymous person that gave me information on, I believe, UFO technology."
Mhm.
And the two of them together came to the conclusion that it was some type of race of people who had this technology and passed it on. And maybe a week later, one of them had met with these people,
Mhm.
came out of the hotel, and then the next day slept for like 14 hours straight from the morning till the evening and woke up with some type of chip in his stomach. And this was a person who works for the government. So he was a
Oh,
physicist. So he had no, uh, he was concerned, I guess, for his reputation, but he wasn't. And the same thing
mhm.
applied to the other Japanese guy. So the technology and the revelations that'll take place, the man that I watched today said that some of it is actually our government, a small percentage of government that has figured out the
Mhm.
technology and using some of it. But of course, the real technology comes from out of this universe.
Yeah.
And that's
So, yeah. So two things that from what you just shared. Uh, when we're just sitting back and we're just looking at the technology of the craft, forget about all the different species and the aliens, but just looking at a UFO. So just say like looking at the UFO hover. And a long time ago, when I started this channel, I shared about how we could look at levitation through nature, and I talked about bees. And I don't know if you saw that one, right? But bees don't fly; they levitate. So
yeah, you
the
said that. I
wings of the
remember.
bee, yeah, the bee just boom, and it just hits this frequency, and it's actually levitating. It's not flying like a bird. It has nothing to do with the winds. It's the vibration, and the
Right,
bee
right.
actually levitates. So that's why you see the truth when you just look at nature. So some of these craft that you see them going, like this, and you pointed out the one, the Navy, and I shared with the people to look at that link of the Navy, and the thing is just there and it disappears.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
yeah.
one video a few years back over the Dome of the Rock. Did you see that one? It's like
No,
it's
no,
there.
I
It
don't.
was hovering, and it flashes, and then it just boom, it just goes up straight, like real fast.
Well,
And that was an interesting video. But that one that you showed with the Navy captured, it just goes straight up fast. So levitation is possible. It's just it's not something that we could just build right here. But if you understand frequency, it's just matching the frequency so that you could levitate over gravity or the force of this world that we're on.
well,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Go. Yeah,
No, no, go ahead. What do you want to say?
I was going to say that I think that, I mean, there's always something for us to learn. And I think that we're not the all be all that exists in this universe. And I think once we as a universe and as an earth, the humans who occupy this earth recognize that there's more, just as you and myself and your audience are interested in expanding their horizons on intellectual, on consciousness. I think when people do that, and as a mass, then you create an energy of these things being revealed. I think the energy is being pressured in some capacity to shift the level of consciousness in the government. Other governments are open to this, but we seem to be thinking that it's almost like an ego thing. We have to be in control, and we have to try to show the public that we are not going to be infiltrated, or when in fact we have been. I mean, as I've interviewed the people from the woman, Dr. Irina Scott,
Mhm.
one of the earliest cases before Roswell was in Washington State, where a person, saw was fishing, and I forgot the case. I think it was the Arnold case. And even before that, in 1939, President Roosevelt, Secretary of State, the daughter of the Secretary of State had spoken to this woman I interviewed, and she said down in the bottom of the Capitol building there are aliens in formaldehyde, and this is something that's very interesting. So I think that we are on the cusp, right, of just getting the tip of the iceberg, and that's sufficient enough to open up the door for what will be coming down the road. I think people like yourself who are presenting this information and in the persistent mood, and your motivation, in giving this information to people is perfect, because it's just in line with what everybody needs to know and needs to hear. And this particular agenda of the UFOs is definitely in the news, and I just think it's going to be, it's going to spill over to create greater changes and greater revelations.
Yeah, it's all about the first domino. I keep talking about the first domino to fall. Oh, that can't be real. All that you hear, all these things, right? Or the mind control conspiracy theory, they call it, right? All these things, right? Oh, it can't be real. But all it takes is the first domino to fall. It validates everything, because if this is real, then what about everything else? So that's why it's like a tremendous tension, and once it goes, it's going to go, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's all about that.
An interesting thing is I relate this to family, as I said earlier. I relate it to people being not stuck in tradition, but caught in a web of not breaking free from the traditions that have been passed down. Just the fact of religion, for example. If alien races exist beyond this universe, and many people from a religious standpoint would question how did they come about. If a person believes in Jesus or the Buddha or whoever they may pray to, okay, you're using that as a figure of the extreme power over religion. Who created aliens? Who rules their race? So there's a lot of questions. I mean, the Vatican has admitted to knowing about aliens, and even in the Bible, in Ezekiel, I think it was, I don't know the Psalm, I think it's 1.13. Ezekiel is in the desert, and he sees some type of hovering light with circular legs that is rotating, and beings that look like reptiles inside of I don't know if they call it a craft or not. And then in the 1600s, the woman I interviewed said that it's called the Bridgewater Triangle in the Massachusetts area, the colonists wrote in their diary about seeing or, being confronted with alien races. And this woman has a connection to it, the woman I interviewed from the 1600s. So she said that it was pretty interesting. Interestingly enough, I'd say about 2 years ago, I went to New Hampshire, to the Franconia Conway area. And in that area, I was with my girlfriend. We were just discussing UFOs. As you know, that's one of my interests, and out there a little bit. And I said to her, I said, this area feels to me as if something happened here in a little town that maybe is populated by, I don't know how many people. And sure enough, I looked on the internet, and it said in this particular town, I don't know if it's North Conway, the Betty and Bonnie Hill were abducted in 1961. And if you go up the block where you're staying, you'll see the plaque. It was the first alien abduction that was recorded. And actually, there's a plaque that came out by the Commerce of, I guess, in that town in New Hampshire. So as what I've seen is that things can actually really take place, right? Such as this, based upon the hypnosis and the experiences that the Hill family had. But what I was going to say is, based upon what they experienced, is it takes years for the information to then come out and then almost be validated. Like, yeah, we've heard about that, and yes, there's been experts who did find this and did find that. So it's almost like after a certain period of time, the information could be digestible. You know, yeah, that's possible. It could have happened, but for the first 20 years or 30 years, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And then
Confirmation, my equipment is falling down as you're sharing the story.
high vibration here, high vibration.
Yeah, the high vibes. Yeah. Yeah. But
Well, your experiences are very telling. I mean, the videos that you've made have brought. I mean, I've seen in the background from different times where you filmed in certain areas. Behind you is some type of light that flashes in and out of the clouds, and I've passed it on to so many people, and people don't know what to say.
yeah.
And to me, it feels like somewhat of a connection.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is, I was just talking to someone about it, and like sometimes I'll think and try to like maybe want them to show up on command, but what I noticed is when I'm just filming naturally, they'll show up when I'm when I'm saying something very specific. So, and I've done a video where I put a bunch of them together, but like if I'm saying something like that's, like the very first time it really showed up like big and bright like that. The topic was paying attention, and
wow. really,
I wasn't, I just was random, and it was like, and then there was a couple other times where I was saying certain things, and one of them was we have to get in the mindset that we can accomplish the absolute impossible, and there it is.
That's amazing.
And it just is random. And then I'm like looking at it and I see it. And I said, what am I saying at the time? And so it's like whatever I was saying, and then boom, it just lights up.
Well, so that thought crossed my mind. That thought crossed my mind when you're making the videos also. What exactly are they drawn to, or what exactly is the message that creates that appearance in the sky? I just find it. I guess the main point of this whole subject is why do people want to know more about this? Why are people interested in this? And why are some people want to be kept in the dark and either shame others who want to go on the journey to discover this or believe in this? And I guess it reverts back to tradition and shaming and not allowing people to branch off from the family base. And the government is sort of like, as we said before, like a narcissist intruder into the lives of people who want to investigate and grow. And I think suppression of information is one of the ways of keeping the masses pinned down and suppressed. Yeah. And hopefully, I believe June 18th will be a revelation, as we've been speaking. I think around that time, I think the information will be presented sometime. Yeah. But I think a tip of the iceberg will be shown with a distraction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and that's that you hit the nail on the head, because that's what this all is. We're all revealing. I talk about the narcissist a lot, and that narcissistic vibration, telling you what to believe and how you're supposed to believe, and hiding the truth from you when it's your birthright. This is all our birthright. We're supposed to have the full knowledge of everything available to us. So there's definitely hidden agendas when you're not allowed to know the truth. And they always hide it. Oh, it's for your safety. It's for your safety. So, we always got to watch out for that, when they don't want to give you the truth about certain things. We've heard of these implants. You mentioned it before. I wrote it down just to remember it when you were talking about like the chips and the implants, and they could get in many different ways. I've seen some videos on them, and these chips and implants could wind up in your body different ways. And that's one of the, the benefits of the solar flash and raising your core vibrational frequency, because they'll kind of short circuit all these chips. So the solar flash, the increased energy, right? We see the Schumann resonance rising. So all those chips and all the nanobots and nanotechnologies, it will short circuit with this energy. I think it's that's the divine energy from God that this is no longer going to happen. Well, So and I think that alien disclosure is important to understand things that are not understandable right now. A lot of people are looking at the world saying this makes no sense, But when you start to peel back the veil and you realize that there are other life forms, there's alien life, and they don't operate like we do. They operate outside of the matrix, and our matrix is go to work, right? Go to school, get a job, earn money. Money is everything, and then you die, and that's it. But money is not the currency. The currency is your life force energy, and they're aware of that, and that's why there are living things that will siphon fear off your core.
Absolutely.
And that's they feed off your energy, they feed off your fear, and that's why I come out without fear to show people that if you don't have fear, they can't bother you. They can't bother you.
No, I understand that.
But yeah, when you start and you can't go over to your friend in the gym and say, hey, you want to learn? They'll look at you like you're crazy. So that's why it kind of like it's slowly.
I think it's
slowly getting.
I think it's a
Getting out there.
progression of growth, personal growth. I think when you're on this journey or this path, I think it naturally comes to the person to investigate or at least question or try to understand other life forces from different universes. I think it's like you said, it's our birthright to at least be open, to at least not be shamed or put on the witches, burnt at the stake for questioning. Even the people who were psychic or spiritual during the during specific times in history, people who broke free from what the masses were teaching or holding on to, were trying to intimidate people who were breaking free from that. The main point that I'd like to understand from this all is what's the main goal and what's the main mission of other aliens or other races, extraterrestrial races. And the interesting thing, that was one of the things that I've learned early on, maybe about 5 years ago, that a lot of the spiritual people who were either into reincarnation, a lot of them had experiences as children that they actually had encounters with specific alien groups, and were told that we are here to teach technology to you, and we are here to learn from you spirituality. And one of these spiritual guides who belonged to Ishra, which was an association, one of the guys, as he got older, met a farmer from the Midwest, and he was in his 50s or 60s. But as a child, he had the same type of encounter with an alien who told him the same thing, that we are here to learn spirituality from you, and we are here to give you the technology that we have. So I thought that was a very interesting concept to bring up. The thing is, where do we go from here now? So I think it's a very interesting path that we're on.
Yeah,
and you're doing a great job of enlightening and bringing this information to your audience and raising people's levels of consciousness, which is so inspiring, because it gives people a fresh and a different format for them to gather information and to ponder in their own mind.
Yeah, and I just feel everything is all gotten to us to this point right now, and I feel now is the time. I knew a long time ago that we'd be serving together, and I feel like now's the time that this is our calling. I feel that it's important for us because we're really the common everyday life people, and we went through this path because that's the majority of the people that are waking up. We're not these people that are, we're just showing people that this is normal and this is what our life has been, and this is where we're transitioning from. So and I'm here today doing what I do, and I shared this before, and I'm always grateful for everything you did for me. So when you're awakening and you and your ears are ringing and you don't know what's going on, it's always good to have someone to help you know what's, and that's why I feel it's my duty to share about the ascension symptoms, because me, I was scared, and I always grateful. That's really really always grateful. Especially
Yeah, but
for my-
I'm also grateful. I'm also grateful to have the opportunity to share this information with you as well, right?
yeah,
It rebounds back and forth. So thank you
yeah,
for giving me the opportunity to be heard,
yeah,
and to express that, because not many people, not many people, not many people are open to information. Okay,
yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
I thought it was one ring, but it's more than that. I can't shut that off. So
Yeah.
that's background
Yeah,
information.
keeps
Um,
going.
on that note,
Yeah.
I guess let's close this particular conversation, because I think it's been very interesting talking about this, and you know, I'm getting called from another universe right now, and
Yeah, you're getting called into the next dimension now.
yeah, the dimension is
Yeah,
ringing.
the
But
bell's ringing.
yeah, no, but it's been inspiring talking to you, and
Yeah,
having the opportunity to share this information with your audience, and just in general to talk about these subjects.
yeah, and I appreciate you. I'm sure we'll be doing this a lot more because I think things are. I mean, you feel it too. I think things are about to pick up, and that's what we're here to do. And we pick each other up. Just having you here, and as we go back and forth, it makes a better message for the people.
Yeah,
So
it's not lonely, but it's a journey to be traveled, and to share with people who are like-minded makes it a lot easier. So
yeah,
thank you for
yeah,
sharing that path with me as well.
yeah. Till the end of the line, brother.
All right, we'll see what
All right.
happens. All right.
Yeah. All right.